The Rafah Crossing, once Gaza's main lifeline to the outside world, is reopening after being shut for almost 2 years. Israel says it will allow for the limited passage of residents only as procedures are tested. Ambulances are already queuing on the Egyptian side of the crossing. Now, thousands of sick and wounded Palestinians are seeking urgent medical care abroad, but Israel is expected to control the numbers allowed to leave, and Palestinians fear many won't be let back in. Israel sets out how the Rafah Crossing will work, with EU monitors and limited Israeli involvement. Now, departures from the Gaza Strip to Egypt will be checked by EU personnel, not Israel. The EU acts on behalf of the Palestinian Authority, which will issue exit stamps while Israel keeps remote oversight. Now, entries into Gaza will face 2 checkpoints, first by the EU at Rafah, then by Israeli security in areas under its control. Israel says the process is designed to prevent smuggling. All crossings must be approved in advance by Israel's internal security agency. A few hundred people a day may cross. Even some Hamas members and their families could be allowed to leave. We're going to unpack all of this further now. Joining me on set is our correspondent, Noor O'Day, who has obviously covered this region extensively, has also worked out of Gaza, and Mohamad Elmasry is a professor of media studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Thanks so much for being with us. Obviously, a whole lot to talk through. I just read through that list, that graphic of exactly who and what is going to control it. But this really does all come back to Israel, doesn't it, Mohamad? They have said that this is a pilot operation. I mean, it could effectively be closed at any point if they deem.
Yeah, and when I see what's going on, I can only think of the history of colonialism, and control is absolutely central to colonialism, and we see Israel over and over again reminding the Palestinians first, but then all of us by extension, that they are in control. I think that the violence that we saw yesterday was part of that. I think these very extreme, and if I may say, absurd measures that they're taking at the Rafah border crossing, that's all further evidence that Israel wants to demonstrate to the Palestinians. The
extreme measures you're talking about, the process that people have to go through to leave and return.
Absolutely, yeah. Extremely cumbersome, extremely, even the fact that they're not opening it today for humans for people to cross in and out. The fact that Israel is going to have final say on every person that leaves. Think for a moment about all of the Palestinians who need urgent medical care. You've talked a lot about that. I've been following the coverage this morning. But think also about the people that need to leave for other reasons, like students. My university has accepted, I don't have the current list in front of me, but quite a significant number of students from Gaza over the past 2 admissions seasons. We're not able to get any of those students. And imagine the anxiety that those students must be facing, and their families, first of all, not knowing if they're going to be able to get on those lists, right, at the mercy of Israel. And secondly, if they do get on the list and they are able to travel and come study in Doha or anywhere else, will they be allowed back in Gaza at the end of their study period?
Noor, can you just tell us a little bit about how people can actually go about dealing with this, the uncertainty, the lack of freedom or choice over their own lives that almost everyone in Gaza has right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's anybody listening to us in our audience would be thinking, well, when I want to travel, I book my flight, I decide the date of my travel, and I just do it. And that's what happens when you have control over your life. In Gaza, you do not. And so you must submit to that lack of control. There's really nothing you can do about it. If you're fighting for your life because you're gravely injured, or you have a heart condition or cancer, then you pray that you would be at the front of the line. But think of the line. There are over 20,000 people. Already about 1,300 have died waiting for their turn to leave. And it's not enough for you to be sick. Israel needs to approve your exit from Gaza. Israel needs to give you a sentence, basically allowing you to live and leave to Gaza, because it's also not allowing enough medical supplies into Gaza. The hospitals haven't been able to be rebuilt.
As we heard from our guest earlier from UNICEF, the lack of aid that's been able to get in has been such a huge issue, as we know, over the last couple of years. Mohamad, is this all the beginnings of forced displacement from Gaza? Is there a real risk that this could be the first stage of that?
Well, I mean, I don't have any question that that's the Israeli intention. You know, I think too often, and I've said this before in past interviews, but I think too often Israel says things, and for whatever reason, the international community doesn't believe them. You know, but when Israeli ministers, including the prime minister, talk repeatedly about forced displacement, when they talk repeatedly about resettling Gaza, when they have conferences about resettling Gaza, when Benjamin Netanyahu sits in front of the television cameras on Israeli television and says that he is deeply committed to the idea of greater Israel, my opinion is that we should believe them. And all of this feeds into that, right? The idea that they're not letting very many Palestinians leave, not enough, as you all have reported. It'll take 3 years just to let the 20,000 people that need to get out for urgent medical care, you know, to let them out. But, you know, they're letting more people out than they will let people in. And that is very significant. That feeds into this narrative of ethnic cleansing or greater Israel.
It could almost be 3 to 1, you know, 3 times the amount of people are able to leave than return. At the same time, we saw, I think, 30 people were killed yesterday in Israeli attacks. Another person died this morning in Wadi Gaza by an Israeli drone attack. I mean, it's really a ceasefire in name only, isn't it? What has happened and presumably what is going to continue happening.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we heard from UN officials in the past 2 days. This is a ceasefire by name. The situation on the ground has only slightly improved because we don't see 200, 300, 500 people being killed. But the majority of the population continues to be displaced, and they do not have answers to all those urgent questions. Even the mechanism through which Rafah is now open, according to the Israeli army, it is the same that was employed in the beginning of 2025, meaning the same modus operandi during the genocide. Israel wants to maintain the situation in Gaza as if the genocide never stopped, and it hasn't.
Yeah, as we've seen. Mohamad Elmasry, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.